Okay, so picture this. It's like the Wild West of the internet, right? We're talking dial-up modems, those clunky AOL CDs,
I remember those days.
and you're trying to send money to a friend.
Right.
And it's a whole thing. Like, you got to navigate bank transfers, Western Union, maybe even send a check in the mail.
Yeah, it was a process.
Totally. But now, fast forward to today, we've got Venmo, PayPal, instant transfers. It's practically magic. But what if I told you that even with all this progress, we're still relying on these big centralized systems? Systems that can be slow, expensive, and maybe not as secure as we'd like to think.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Where are you going with this?
Well, that's where our deep dive today comes in. We're going back to 2014. Enter Vitalik Buterin. You know, the Ethereum guy.
Ah, yes. The Wunderkind.
Exactly. This incredibly bright programmer who basically said, hey, what if there's a better way to do this whole internet thing? And that idea, well, it became the Ethereum Whitepaper.
The OG of Ethereum.
Exactly. Now, most people, they hear Ethereum and they think cryptocurrency.
Right, which it is, of course.
For sure. But what Buterin was laying out in this paper, it went way beyond just digital cash.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He was talking about completely revolutionizing how we interact online, how we build trust, even like how we govern ourselves.
Well, with this thing called a blockchain.
Right. And even back then, it was clear he saw the potential to decentralize, well, pretty much everything.
I mean, Bitcoin was really the only game in town back then.
Yeah, totally. And Bitcoin was groundbreaking, don't get me wrong, but it was still limited to just being a digital currency. Buterin was picturing Ethereum as this platform. Like, imagine a stage where anyone could create their own apps, but these apps, they'd be decentralized.
These dApps we hear so much about now.
Exactly. Short for decentralized applications. And here's where it gets really wild. We're not just talking about, like, new ways to send money. Buterin was describing a world with decentralized versions of everything. Like, imagine a decentralized Dropbox or even prediction markets.
Prediction markets. That's interesting.
Right. He was basically asking, what if we could just remove the middleman from every part of our digital lives?
Ambitious, to say the least.
Yeah.
But how do you even begin to build something like that? That's where those smart contracts come into play, right?
Bingo. That's the secret sauce. Think of it like this.
Okay. You've got this vending machine, but instead of spitting out candy bars, it dispenses anything digital, but only if certain conditions are met.
So it's like a vending machine for code.
Kind of. And it all relies on these pre-programmed rules baked into the contract itself. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're a farmer, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And you want to buy crop insurance. So with a smart contract, you could set it up so that if a certain weather event happens, like let's say a hailstorm wipes out your crops.
Right, that's the risk you're trying to insure against.
Exactly. So the contract automatically pays out your insurance claim based on like weather data recorded on the blockchain. No more fighting with insurance companies, no waiting months for a check.
That's pretty slick, but how do you know those contracts will actually be honored? That no one can tamper with them? Well, that's the beauty of this whole decentralized thing, because these contracts are stored and run on a network spread across tons of computers.
Okay.
There's no single point of failure. No one person or entity can just swoop in and mess with the code. The trust is built into the system itself.
Interesting. So it's like a tamper-proof automated vending machine. I kind of get it.
Right. It's pretty brilliant. But to really understand just how powerful these smart contracts can be, we need to talk about this concept of Turing complete.
Okay, now you've officially lost me. Turing complete.
I know, it sounds kind of techie.
It's a bit.
But trust me, it's key to understanding what makes Ethereum so revolutionary.
So Turing complete, is this like passing the Turing test, like those AI chatbots everyone's talking about?
Not exactly, but you're on the right track. It's all about a machine's ability to, well, think in a way.
Okay.
Imagine a simple calculator. It can do basic math, no problem. But you can't make it run complex programs, right?
Right.
Now, picture a supercomputer, like the kind that can simulate entire universes. That's the difference between a basic blockchain and a Turing-complete one like Ethereum.
Okay. So Ethereum is like the supercomputer of blockchains.
Exactly. It's like going from a bicycle to a spaceship in terms of what you can build. And that's what got everyone so excited about Ethereum in the first place. But
There's always a but.
right. With great power comes
A whole lot of challenges.
You got it. Like security. How do you stop some, rogue programmer from wreaking havoc in this decentralized utopia.
That's what I was wondering. And what happens when the blockchain gets overloaded, like with a gazillion transactions?
Yeah. Exactly. Like, everyone's trying to squeeze through the door at the same time. Not good.
And let's not even get started on the possibility of someone unleashing some kind of, infinite loop of doom.
The dreaded infinite loop. Talk about a system crasher. These are some big, scary questions. But here's the thing. Buterin, he was already thinking about these challenges back in 2014.
No way. He was that far ahead.
Oh, yeah. And in the white paper, he actually lays out some really clever solutions, like to tackle that whole infinite loop problem.
Okay, let me guess. He invented some kind of blockchain antivirus.
Not quite. It's way more elegant than that. He proposed this system where every single computation on the Ethereum network
Okay, it costs something.
costs something. Like what?
It consumes this resource he called gas.
Mm-hmm.
And to run any code on Ethereum, users have to pay for this gas using Ether. Using Ether? Ethereum's own cryptocurrency. Okay, I see where you're going with this.
So it's like you're paying a toll to use the network's computing power.
A toll booth on the information superhighway. I
Yeah.
like it. But how does that stop an infinite loop? Wouldn't someone just pay an infinite amount of Ether?
That's the beauty of it. Since an infinite loop would theoretically run forever,
Right.
it would require an infinite amount of gas and therefore cost an infinite amount of Ether.
So it just becomes economically impossible. That's pretty brilliant.
Right. It's like a self-regulating speed limit for the network.
I love it. But it does more than just prevent crashes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't this gas system also address that sustainability issue?
You're sharp. It does.
Yeah.
Because it charges for computational resources. It stops overuse and ensures that the people who are, benefiting most from the network are also the ones contributing the most to its upkeep.
It aligns the incentives in a really clever way. Buterin really thought of everything.
He really did, but he wasn't done there. Remember those wild applications we were talking about?
Oh, yeah. Decentralized Dropbox, prediction markets.
All that and more.
Hmm.
In the white paper, he goes even further, talking about things like digital identity, new forms of online voting even.
Don't tell me. Decentralized pizza delivery.
Haha, not quite, but close. He starts talking about decentralized autonomous organizations.
DAOs. Yeah, I've heard that term thrown around. It sounds pretty futuristic.
Oh, it is. And this is where things get really mind-bending. So DAOs. Imagine a company, right, or even a whole government that basically runs itself based on code with no CEO calling the shots.
Fooling, you're saying algorithms could be in charge.
Kind of. It's more like the rules are set in stone, in the code, right, in these smart contracts. And then everyone who's a part of the DAO, they get a say, they get to vote on decisions, all totally transparent, all on the blockchain.
So instead of a boardroom, you've got lines of code making the big decisions.
Exactly. And because it's all out in the open on the blockchain, it's more democratic, more accountable. At least that's the idea.
That's a pretty radical concept. But if I'm being honest, it's kind of hard to wrap my head around, are there any real-world examples of these DAOs?
Well, that's the thing. They're still in their early stages. Remember, this white paper was written back in 2014, so...
Right, it's like looking into a crystal ball. Some things are clearer than others.
Exactly. And even though Buterin talks about DAOs like this revolutionary concept, right, we're not exactly living in a DAO-run world just yet.
True. But we have seen some interesting experiments popping up, like those decentralized finance platforms.
DeFi.
Right?
Yeah.
Some of those have elements of DAOs built in. It's still early days. But you can see the seeds of Buterin's vision starting to sprout.
Totally. And I think that's what makes this white paper so fascinating to revisit, because it shows us how far we've come and how far we still have to go.
It really highlights how quickly things move in this space and how one person's vision can have such a massive ripple effect.
Absolutely. I mean, before Ethereum, the blockchain, it was practically synonymous with Bitcoin.
Right. It was just seen as this niche technology for digital currency.
Exactly. But Buterin, he saw the bigger picture. He recognized that blockchain wasn't just about money, it was about trust, about cutting out those middlemen and building a more equitable system.
And it wasn't just talk either. He laid out a concrete roadmap for how to actually build this decentralized future.
And that's what sparked this whole movement, this whole ecosystem of developers, entrepreneurs, investors, all inspired by this one document. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
It really is. And it all goes back to those core principles he outlined in the white paper. Openness, transparency, decentralization. Ideas that continue to resonate today, even as the technology itself evolves.
Exactly. So As we wrap up our deep dive into the Ethereum white paper, I'm left with this one kind of mind-blowing thought. What if, out of all the incredible innovations that Ethereum has sparked, what if the most transformative one isn't even about cryptocurrency? What if it's those DAOs, those decentralized organizations, that end up changing the world the most?
Now, that's something to ponder.
Right. It's a lot to think about. And that's it for today's deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one writing the next groundbreaking white paper.